Hi, this is Rick Stroud with Stephen Holder of the St. Petersburg Times. We're here at One Buck Place, and a very busy week, obviously, in the news for the Bucs. We start with Tanard Jackson, suspended for a year at least minimum. He can apply for reinstatement in about a year with a failed substance abuse test. And now that puts them obviously at jeopardy at the safety position and on defense. And Stephen, you know, most people would have assumed maybe that they would go back to Savvy Piscatelli and move him to free safety because we've seen him play some of that position. But in fact, that's not what they're doing. Tell us about it.
Well, yeah, they're going to go with 7th-round pick Cody Grimm, who really has come out of nowhere and actually had a pretty good camp for this team, a pretty impressive preseason. He's been pretty good for them on special teams to this point during the regular season. But this is somewhat of a mild surprise. I mean, you go with a very, very inexperienced guy over a guy who's been on your roster for 3 years now and has been a starter for you for more than a season. So it's perhaps a little bit of an indictment of Savvy Piscatelli, who they have had plenty of time to evaluate over the last year plus. And really, he had some up and down struggles that we documented thoroughly. I think they want to take a chance and roll the dice a little bit with the young guy who has some upside from a playmaking standpoint and just a standpoint, I think, of where his instincts are maybe versus Piscatelli's. And I think they're just going to sort of take a chance on this guy and see what they can get out of him. I think they know what they have in Savvy, and just frankly, it just didn't do very much for them last year. So elsewhere, going into this game against Pittsburgh, we're going to see the Bucs match up against a very physical Pittsburgh defense, #1 defense coming in here.
Right.
What sort of opportunity or chance do you think they have to run the ball here, which is something they've not done the previous 2
Yeah,
games?
well, it hasn't gone well. I mean, Cadillac Williams, we know, is a little nicked up. He has a hamstring injury. Ran it 27 times last week for just 51 yards against Carolina, and they haven't been productive. And I talked to Greg Olson, and he says there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just the running back or just the offensive line. Tight ends are involved as well. And some of the situational stuff they've had at the end of the half, trying to milk the clock to kill it, to run the clock, and then at the end of the game in a 4-minute offense. But their plan was last week to play Kareem Huggins, and he had a groin injury late in the week. Now, he'll be back this week. We'll see more Kareem Huggins. And the next week is a bye weekend, and that's when they plan on getting guys like LeGarrette Blount up to speed in the offense. So coming out of the bye week, they'll be able to take some of that rushing load off Cadillac Williams. But a very tough team to run against, no question. They held Chris Johnson to under 40 yards, and this will be their hardest test so far, and it hasn't gone well to date. So tune in again on TampaBay.com for more news on the Bucs.